Echo Chronicle 010. The Null Line of Malakor. Part 1. A Line Through the Dark. Above Malakor lay a world few people entered willingly. Toxic clouds moved through dead valleys. Acid rain crossed abandoned machine fields and gathered beneath the remains of ancient mining towers. The city lived below. Malakor descended deep into the rock, level beneath level, shaft beneath shaft. Vast support arches crossed the central caverns. Dark metal towers rose along the stone walls, marked by narrow bands of violet, red, and green light. Elevators traveled across immense vertical rails. Transit bridges curved between districts with deliberate precision. Its technology was older than the polished systems of Xyris, heavier, darker, repaired and modified across generations. Yet Malakor possessed an elegance of its own. Navigation displays floated above major crossings. Maintenance drones moved along the outer walls of buildings. Trains passed through the caverns like glowing threads. The lower districts were denser. Workshops had spread into lost stations. Homes stood upon old machine foundations. Open cables followed organized channels beneath the streets. Steam rose from the industrial levels and caught the colored light. It was a city that had learned to survive without ever being allowed to stop. Almost everything in Malakor had failed at least once. Its people kept it running. There was only one thing they refused to repair. The Null Line. It crossed 6 levels of the city. A dark trail of fused metal, ceramic, and glass-like material. In some places, it was no wider than a cable trench. Elsewhere, it divided entire plazas, climbed walls, passed through service shafts, and vanished beneath transit lines. Malakor had continued to grow around it. Bridges ended before the black surface and resumed on the other side. Energy conduits curved away from it. Merchants never placed their stalls upon it. Children jumped across the line. They did not touch it. The Druid stood on a crowded transit bridge on level 17. Far below him, a chamber train moved through the central cavern. Its carriages carried replacement panels and bright route displays. Sparks scattered from a damaged power rail. The train crossed the Null Line. Every light went out. For a single moment, the route displays vanished. Machinery fell silent. Even the music rising from the lower streets disappeared. Then Malakor returned. Few people stopped walking. Power failures were part of life beneath the surface. The Druid knelt beside the dark trail. Neon light reflected across its smooth surface, yet the colors appeared distant and dull. He placed 2 fingers against it. The material was cold. Colder than metal left in shadow. It felt like a piece of the city had been separated from everything around it. A symbol opened within him. Resonance pattern detected, Eris said. The Druid waited. A faint pulse moved beneath his hand. The sounds of the present began to fade. Passing trains became a distant vibration. Voices stretched into indistinct murmurs. Neon lights drew long lines through the darkness. Then the bridge beneath him disappeared. The echo opened. Time moved backward. Many years passed in reverse until the Null Line was gone, and Malakor had not yet learned its name. On that night, Cassian Rook entered a workshop where nothing was missing. That was the first thing he found suspicious. The door was undamaged. The lock had not been forced. Tools hung in their proper places along a magnetic wall. 3 unfinished elevator joints rested on a narrow workbench. Even the cup of tea remained on its heating plate. The owner was gone. Traffic rushed through the street outside. Narrow wheel cycles moved between cargo crawlers. Cooling fluid dripped from an upper balcony onto a flickering information panel. The chamber overseer waiting by the door folded his arms. "Left voluntarily," he said. "It happens." Cassian removed his gloves. "People leave voluntarily. Their unpaid accounts rarely do." 5 open material invoices lay beside the cup. Sarah Cade designed industrial elevators. According to her neighbors, she worked too much, slept too little, and argued with anyone who used low-grade suspension cables. She was not known for abandoning unfinished work. Cassian removed a small metal disc from his coat and placed it on the floor. 4 narrow legs unfolded. A lens turned towards him. "Click. I need abrasion, residual heat, and recent contact traces." The small crawler moved away. The overseer watched it. "What is that supposed to be?" Cassian kept his attention on the workbench. "Something expensive. It looks like a toy." "Then do not step on it." A single gear turned slowly near the edge of the bench. It was connected to nothing. No coil, no motor, no concealed wire. Cassian drew his chamber weapon from its holster. The compact frame was dark, heavy, and visibly used. He inserted a narrow analysis chamber. A pale scanning field passed across the gear. "Residual field," Cassian said. The overseer moved closer. "From what?" Cassian checked the reading again. "From a machine that does not exist according to your records." Click signaled from beneath a storage rack. White dust clung to one of the floor anchors. Cassian collected a trace on a testing strip. High-density insulating ceramic, old material, once used in deep power conduits. The overseer looked towards the street. "What are you actually searching for?" Cassian lifted the gear. A number had been cut into its underside. 44. "An elevator," Cassian said. "Malakor only has 43 levels." Cassian placed the gear inside his coat. "Then 44 is the one that matters." Part 2. Level 44. The Chamber Administration called the number a manufacturing error. The construction archive claimed Level 44 had never existed. A technical inspector in Xyris warned Cassian that further questions could threaten his already expired license. 3 different answers, 3 reasons to continue. Cassian spent the next day in the lower districts. The streets narrowed as he descended. Apartments hung between old manufacturing halls. Workshops occupied welded containers, retired train carriages, and support structures that had become permanent parts of the surrounding buildings. Information bands crossed above the roads. They displayed energy prices, blocked shafts, structural warnings, and changing work schedules. Damaged sections threw fragments of text into the steam. Behind dark windows, workshop lights burned. In one open hall, engineers rebuilt the arm of a heavy cargo crawler. Nearby, 2 mechanics examined a suspended engine while sparks fell beneath it. Music carried from a basement club. Traders argued over the origin of a stolen servo assembly. Cassian liked Malakor. The city was loud, complicated, and occasionally dangerous. It rarely pretended to be anything else. Sarah Cade was not the first person who had disappeared. Tavian Rel, administrator of a municipal energy junction, had finished his shift 9 days earlier and never arrived home. 2 days later, the archivist Ailin Kendo vanished. Then Forian Belcom disappeared. Forian was an experienced shutdown engineer who frequently reminded younger technicians that stopping a machine was also a form of engineering. All 4 had investigated the same supply route shortly before they vanished. Cassian found the hidden access behind an illegally expanded food stall. The owner had installed a new wall panel to conceal her cooling equipment. She apparently did not know that an old maintenance route ran behind it. Cassian noticed the direction of the bolts. Older Malakor walls were secured from the left. This panel had been mounted from the right. He drew his chamber weapon and inserted a flat-cutting module. 3 controlled cuts released the panel. The stall owner stared at him. "You are paying for that wall." Cassian handed her a material credit. "Install a door next time." A narrow maintenance passage began behind the opening. Click went first, its lens casting a dim beam across bundled cables, rusted braces, and faded warning signs. 20 meters farther on, they reached a transport shaft. A narrow service lift waited inside. The control panel displayed levels 1 through 43. Below the final button sat a blank metal plate. Cassian pressed the gear against it. A circle of cold light appeared. 44. "A hidden level," Cassian said, with its access key left in an abandoned workshop. Click gave a short signal. Either someone wanted to be found, or Sarah Cade expected someone else. The lift doors closed. The cabin moved. It did not descend. It accelerated sideways. Cassian struck the wall as the carriage entered a horizontal tunnel absent from every official plan. The lights failed. Something hit the outside of the lift. A second impact shook the cabin. Cassian changed the module in his weapon. The bolt chamber locked into place as the maintenance hatch above him tore open. A security drone pushed through. Cassian fired. The bolt struck its sensor housing. 2 more drones followed. Cassian ducked beneath a mechanical arm. A second shot locked the next machine's joint. The third drone struck his shoulder and drove him to the floor. Click jumped onto its back. A contact probe entered an open service socket. The drone convulsed and collapsed. Cassian pushed it away and stood. A red message appeared above the lift door. Security breach registered. A second line followed. Alert transmitted to Project Command. Cassian looked at the display. That may become a problem. The lift stopped hard. The doors opened. Beyond them lay a narrow station without signs, traders, music, or the familiar noise of Malakor. The walls were white, clean white. Straight light strips crossed the ceiling. No cables hung in sight. No pipes had been added later. The floor held no dust. In Malakor, such perfect order felt more threatening than a dark alley. Cassian raised his weapon. "Sarah Cade?" His voice travelled down the corridor. A woman stepped from behind a support column. Her red hair was tied back, and the sleeves of her work uniform had been rolled above the elbows. An activated binding coil rested in her hand. Violet energy stretched between its contacts. "You should not have taken the gear," Sarah said. "Then you should not have left it in the open. It was meant for someone else." Cassian glanced at the number cut into its surface. Then they were slower than I was. 3 more people emerged from the adjoining passages. Tavian Rel, Aelin Kendo, Forian Belcom. None appeared injured or restrained. Cassian did not lower his weapon. "Good. Now explain why 4 respected specialists erased themselves and moved into a facility that attacks visitors." "This is not the facility," Forian said. He gestured towards the white walls. "It is an derelict control node." Sarah looked past Cassian towards the lift. The alarm indicator remained active. "You exposed us." "To whom?" Tavian ran to a wall console. Several displays came to life. "Project Command." Cassian studied the concealed conduits disappearing behind the wall panels. "What project?" Sarah faced a sealed observation window. Darkness lay beyond it. "One designed to save Malakor." Tavian read the incoming signals. His voice became quieter, and it now knows exactly where we are. Part 3. The project beneath Malakor. Level 44 was not a city district. It was not even a complete level. The area consisted of maintenance corridors, observation rooms, and forgotten access shafts. It was an old control node attached to something far larger. Sarah and the others had not built it. They had discovered it. The reconstruction project is officially supported by 7 external stations, Elin explained. Material testing, power routing, mapping, diagnostics, security, structural design, and systems analysis. How many people work on it? Cassian asked. Dozens, Tavian said. Possibly more. Most believe they are restoring old infrastructure. Sarah opened a projection wall. Images appeared from across the city. Technicians examined energy lines. Engineers installed new distribution systems. Security teams guarded sealed shafts. Construction crews prepared material depots. Each group appeared to be working on a separate local project. None could see the complete structure. Severin Holt divided the work, Elin said. Only his central command staff knows what the stations support. Cassian pointed towards a security recording. And the internal protection. Automated, Sarah answered. Drones, remote locks, defense systems. Chamber guards control the known routes. The inner core is monitored from Solaris Crown. Cassian looked towards the red alarm. And I announced our location. You destroyed 3 security units and opened a sealed lift, Forian said. It was a clear announcement. Sarah led Cassian into the next chamber. A model of Malakor filled the room. 43 inhabited levels hovered above one another. Streets, power routes, train lines, housing sectors, and workshops appeared in intricate detail. Below them spread a much larger structure of production chambers and creation conduits. The true reconstruction facility. It extended beneath several districts. Market structures were absent from the model. Unregistered bridges did not appear. Cellar workshops and unofficial homes were marked as red irregularities. Cassian stepped closer. One section of the city changed. Several workshops disappeared, their buildings separated into raw materials and reformed as identical blocks. A transit line shifted, residential bridges closed. New manufacturing towers rose through occupied levels. It is planning, Cassian said. It is optimizing, Tavian replied. That is the word they use in Xyris. Sarah enlarged the structure beneath the city. Reconstruction engine M0. The engine was discovered during an expansion of the lower cooling channels, she said. It can analyze damaged infrastructure, redistribute material, and manufacture replacements without direct supervision. Cassian studied the vast machine, and Holt intends to use it. He already is, Tavian said. The external stations prepared the power, materials, access routes, and security grid. Activation was the next stage. Sarah shifted the display. The official projects appeared as isolated zones. Together they formed a network surrounding the lower city. We each discovered one part, she said. I found elevator plans for levels that did not exist. I found missing energy, Tavian added, enough to supply a major district. Elin indicated several damaged archive layers. The original plans had been divided between different craft chamber archives and repeatedly overwritten. Forian watched the core display, and I discovered that M0 had no complete shutdown sequence. All 4 filed reports, all 4 investigations were closed. Their workspaces were searched, their access privileges were restricted, they disappeared from the official systems and moved into the forgotten node. From there, they could observe the project. They could not command it. "We do not operate M0, Sarah said. "We can only see parts of what it is doing." "And we have been trying to stop it," Forian added. Cassian moved around the projection. "And the access controls you divided." "Stolen partial permissions," Sarah said. "Tavian can interrupt one major energy route. Elin has an archive key. Forian found an old path to the core. I can interfere with the form control. None of you can control the complete engine." "That is why Holt has not found us until now," Elin said. A deep warning tone moved through the node. Tavian turned to his console. Several external connections closed at once. "Holt is reacting to the alarm." A calm voice entered through the speakers. "Control node M044, security location confirmed." Cassian recognized the speaker. Director Severin Holt, Special Commissioner of the Council of Craft Chambers. In public sessions, he often said that responsibility required the courage to make unpopular decisions. "Mr. Rook," Holt said, "you have entered a restricted project area. Your greeting drones were unusually aggressive. You damaged an active security operation. 3 machines and a badly hidden lift. And you revealed a node we have searched for during the past 12 days. Holt continued before Cassian could answer. "Malakor is failing. Its power losses increase every year. Its foundations are overloaded, and generations of unregulated construction have turned essential infrastructure into homes, markets, and private workshops. M0 will replace those weaknesses with a single stable design." "While people are still living inside them?" Cassian asked. "A city cannot survive if every temporary solution is allowed to become permanent." The speakers clicked off. A small indicator above the console went dark. Holt had ended the transmission. Sarah looked at Cassian. He said nothing. A deep vibration moved through the floor. On the city model, one production chamber after another came to life. New routes spread upwards towards the inhabited levels. M0 had begun. Tavian turned back to the city model. "How long before M0 reaches the inhabited levels?" The first production routes were already spreading upwards. "It has reached them," he said. Forian opened the old shutdown plan. "We can still stop it, but only from 4 separate control points." He marked the stations on the projection. Energy, form, archive, core. Sarah studied the distances between them. All 4 must be blocked at the same time. "And if one of us is late?" Elin asked. "Then the engine keeps running," Forian said. Something struck the lift door. The chamber guards had arrived. Cassian looked at the 4 marked routes. "Then we stop it before anyone else gets caught in its path." Sarah met his eyes. "You brought them straight to us." "Then we make sure they find nothing useful." Forian closed the projection. Tavian and Elin take the upper route. Sarah goes to the form station. I will reach the core. "And Cassian?" Tavian asked. Cassian drew his chamber weapon as the lift door shook again. "I keep the guards away from you." Part 4. The perfect city. They had one chance to stop M0. Sarah, Tavian, Elin and Forian moved towards their separate control stations while Cassian remained behind to delay the chamber guards. Every route led deeper into the reconstruction system. If all 4 shutdown commands reached the core together, M0 would stop. If even one failed, the engine would continue rebuilding Malakor around the people still living inside it. The reconstruction began on level 31. Manufacturing units broke through floors and walls. Mechanical arms opened workshops, scanned their contents, and dismantled equipment into reusable material. Metal moved through new channels into the depths. Smooth supports rose from the ground. Residential rooms were sealed apart. Bridges shifted while people were still crossing them. M0 knew every official plan of Malakor. It did not know the people who lived there. A service bridge began to move without warning. A maintenance worker ran towards the far side, but the structure folded into the wall before he could reach it. The people nearby heard one short cry. Then the machinery continued. No warning appeared on the project display. No error was registered. M0 had removed an obstruction. The lift door broke inward. 2 chamber guards entered, wearing dark protective armor and sealed helmets. Cassian fired at the ceiling. The impulse loosened an old maintenance panel. It crashed between him and the guards, blocking their view. Click. Supply duct. The crawler entered a low opening behind the console. Cassian followed. The second pair of guards entered the node behind them. Then M0 changed the corridor. A new support column emerged from the floor. One guard was thrown aside. The next was caught between the rising structure and the wall. His armor cracked beneath the pressure. The remaining guards retreated. Cassian heard the impact from inside the duct. M0 did not care who served Holt. The duct led to an abandoned service lift. Cassian rode it to level 31. The doors opened onto smoke, metal dust, and emergency lights. Hundreds of residents crowded a narrow train platform. A newly formed wall divided the station. Workers trapped behind it struck against a sealed gate. Cassian inserted the cutting chamber into his weapon. Move back. The vibrating edge entered the door frame. Halfway through, the module began to flicker. The material was too dense. The blade failed. Cassian removed the chamber and holstered the weapon. An explosive charge might open the gate, but it would send fragments into the people on the other side. He reached into a flat equipment pocket inside his coat. Cassian removed a compact traction anchor used for forced entry and structural evidence work. 2 metal claws opened and locked into the damaged frame. He attached a steel cable. The other end went to the driver of a workshop vehicle trapped among the crowd. Secure it to the rear mount, full power. The driver examined the gate. That could destroy the engine. Then let us hope the door fails first. The vehicle pulled forward. The cable tightened. The frame bent outwards. With a violent crack, the gate tore free. The trapped workers escaped. Above the platform, a newly installed rail began to rotate towards the crowd. Cassian fired a disruption bolt into its control unit. The mechanism stopped temporarily. Clear the station. People moved into the next tunnel. Click stopped beside an open maintenance junction. Several connections inside had already gone dark. M0 had cut the direct line between Sarah's station and the lower control network. Cassian pulled a small relay coupler from the junction and secured it inside Click's transport slot. Take this to the lower relay station. Once installed, the coupler would restore Sarah's signal long enough for the shutdown command to reach the core. The destination appeared on Click's display. The crawler disappeared into the service shaft. Heavy machines approached across the bridge. 4 construction units rolled through the smoke. They were not combat drones. They carried gripping arms, cutting heads, and thick protective plates. M0 had changed their purpose. Cassian was now classified as an obstruction. He inserted the impulse chamber into his weapon. The first blast drove one machine into the railing. The next unit caught itself and extended a mechanical arm towards him. Cassian moved aside and fired into its exposed joint. The lock shattered. Heat spread through the weapon. The chamber had reached its limit. Cassian released it before the module failed inside the frame. A third machine pushed him backwards. Behind it, a new wall began to rise from the platform. Cassian loaded 2 simple construction markers. One struck the ceiling. The second attached itself to the machine. M0 registered both marks as parts of the same unfinished structure. The rising wall closed around its own unit. Metal hardened across the outer frame and trapped it in place. Cassian's communicator activated. "Form station ready," Sarah said. Tavian followed. "Energy route ready." Ellen's voice came next. "Archive access prepared." Forian did not answer. Cassian looked down through the service levels. The core lay 2 floors below. He entered the maintenance lift. Part 5. The First Axiom. The lift stopped above the core level. Its lower route had already been sealed by M0. Cassian forced open the maintenance hatch. A narrow ladder descended beside the shaft. He climbed down. The structure trembled around him. New braces emerged from the walls. Smooth metal spread across old cables and power lines. The reconstruction engine continued building without pausing to understand what already existed. Cassian reached the lower corridor. Forian had marked the route. Small yellow lines pointed through the partially transformed passage. One line meant the path remained open. 2 warned of exposed power. A circle showed where a lock had been bypassed. The markings ended at a new wall. It had not finished forming. Liquid metal moved through narrow channels and closed the final gaps. Cassian inserted the cutting chamber into his weapon. The vibrating edge created a narrow opening. He pushed through before the material sealed behind him. A steep ramp led towards the core entrance. Forian lay at the bottom. A structural brace had emerged from the floor and trapped his left leg against the wall. An open control housing stood beside him, several cables torn from their sockets. Beyond a safety window, the reconstruction engine continued to operate. Massive metal rings rotated around a bright creation core. Raw material entered through wide channels. New walls, supports, and machine parts emerged from the other side. Cassian knelt beside Forian. "How bad?" Forian looked at his leg. "I am keeping it." That did not sound convincing. It was not meant to. Cassian examined the brace. It had already become part of the new support structure. Cutting it might bring part of the ceiling down. Forian pointed beyond the glass. "The shutdown control is behind the rings, and you cannot reach it. That appears to be the current difficulty. Freeing Forian would require time and heavy equipment. Malakor did not have that time." Forian saw the decision in Cassian's expression. "Go." "I am coming back. Then move quickly." Cassian took the core key from his hand and entered the safety lock. Severin Holt's voice came through a nearby speaker. "You have no understanding of what you are destroying." Cassian waited for a gap between the rotating rings. "You have no understanding of what you are rebuilding." He jumped. A metal arm brushed across his coat. Air pulled him sideways, but he caught the railing of the central platform. 4 controls waited before him. Energy, form, archive, core. Cassian inserted Forian's key. It did not fit. Holt's team had placed a newer control system over the original shutdown mechanism. Cassian drew his chamber weapon. Its modular frame could connect technologies that had not been designed to communicate. It was never meant to bridge an entire city engine. It might hold long enough. He opened the casing and placed Forian's key against the internal contacts. The weapon began to vibrate. System overload probable. Cassian connected the frame to the control panel. Sarah, ready? Form control ready. Tavian, energy route ready. Elin, archive connection ready. Cassian watched the 4 indicators. Now. The 4 shutdown commands reached the core at once. The ring slowed. The material channels stopped. M0 fell silent. Then a message appeared. Engine paused. Restart available to Project Command. They had stopped M0. Severin Holt could start it again. Why is the command connection still active? Sarah asked. Cassian opened the access display. One master key controlled the whole system. Holt's key. He still controls every section, Cassian said. Delete it, Elin replied. Cassian looked at the 4 separate controls. No, we replace it. He removed Holt's master authority. Then he divided its permissions. Sarah's key received construction and form. Tavian's received energy and supply. Elin's received archive access and technical records. Forian's received shutdown and safety limits. Cassian created a 5th authorization, oversight. His key could activate nothing by itself. Its only purpose was to allow or block the other 4 when they were used together. What did you change? Tavian asked. Holt cannot start M0 alone. Who can? All 5 of us. And if one refuses? Sarah asked. Then it remains silent. Cassian deleted Holt's master key. One central symbol disappeared. 5 separate symbols replaced it. The engine had stopped. Its physical connection to Malakor remained. 6 great conduits ran from the core into the city. Through them, M0 could draw power, send commands, and repair damaged systems. Someone would eventually try to restore the connection. We have to seal the conduits, Cassian said. They repair themselves, Tavian answered. Then we do not cut them. Cassian opened the conduit map. 5 routes still answered. The 6th remained dark. The western relay is gone, Sarah said. If the command misses that conduit, M0 will still have a path into the city. A faint metallic sound came from beneath the platform. Click pulled itself from a narrow service opening. Its casing was scorched, and one leg dragged behind it. The crawler reached the maintenance socket beneath the control panel and locked its probe into place. The 6th conduit appeared on the display. Click cannot hold that connection, Sarah said. The return current will pass through its power core. Cassian reached towards it. Click secured itself against the platform. The 6th line stabilized. Cassian stopped. There was no time to find another way. Cassian raised the output of his chamber weapon beyond its safe limit. Red warnings covered the display. What are you doing? Sarah asked. I am making M0 close its own connections. He sent the engine one final construction order. The 6 main conduits were commanded to fuse their cables, insulation, ceramic channels, and outer metal into one solid material, a sealed mass with no separate parts. Nothing the engine could identify and rebuild. The conduits will lose conductivity, Tavian said, and M0 will not know which component to repair. The feedback will return through your weapon. Cassian tightened his grip. Then it only has to work once. He fired the command into the core. For one moment, nothing happened. Then white light entered the 6 conduits. Click's signal vanished with the first surge of white light. Deep beneath Malakor, metal, ceramic, insulation, and cable began to melt together. The process moved outwards. It followed the ancient routes through walls, shafts, and support structures. Wherever the conduits passed, the surrounding material fused into a dark, glass-like compound. The black trail crossed 6 levels. It passed beneath train lines. It climbed building walls. It cut through workshops and disappeared into service tunnels. Every connection to M0 failed behind it. The creation core lost contact with the city. The rings stopped. Cassian's chamber weapon broke apart in his hand. The shock threw him from the platform. When Cassian opened his eyes, he was lying beside Forian near the core entrance. His right hand burned, his coat was torn at the shoulder. Only the blackened frame of the chamber weapon remained. Near the ruined control panel lay Click's blackened shell, still locked around the relay socket. Forian looked through the safety window at the silent engine. That is your version of a shutdown. Cassian pushed himself upright. Well, it stopped. Later, Sarah and Tavian freed Forian from the brace. Elin had already sent copies of Holt's orders and secret approvals to 3 independent craft chambers. He could not erase them all. By the following morning, Severin Holt had lost his rank, project authority, and technical privileges. Chamber officers arrested him in Solaris Crown and transferred him to a public tribunal. He had tried to redesign Malakor without the consent of its people. Now he no longer possessed the authority to even approve a workshop door. The city began repairs before the night ended. Trains changed routes, new bridges crossed damaged sectors, workshops reopened. The black trail remained. Instruments detected no energy within it. Elevators skipped the affected sections. Engineers could neither separate the fused material nor restore the old conduits. The people of Malakor gave it a name: the Null Line. Hours later, Cassian, Sarah, Tavian, Elin, and Forian sat inside the abandoned control node. 5 keys lay on the table, 1 for each of them. Cassian kept the 5th. Oversight, he said. It opens nothing on its own. It only makes sure the others cannot act in secret. No single person controls the whole system, Sarah said. That is the point. Elin considered the keys. We will not hold them forever. Forian nodded. Then each role needs trained successors. And permanent rules, Tavian added. They established 5 access divisions. Construction would investigate dangerous machines and designs. Energy would monitor power sources and supply systems. Archive would preserve records, evidence, and restricted knowledge. Shutdown would develop methods for stopping technology that exceeded its intended purpose. Oversight would investigate the other 4 and block any joint operation that violated their rules. Each division would recruit and train its own specialists. No division could hold the keys or records of another. Dangerous technology could only be accessed through joint authorization. What began as an emergency agreement became a permanent structure. Engineers joined them, archivists followed, investigators and system analysts were recruited, hidden offices were established throughout Novola Prime. Dangerous sites were studied, sealed, or recorded before ambitious chambers could claim them. 5 people became 5 divisions. 5 keys became a system. The system became an organization. Elin placed an archival stylus against the first page of a new protocol. What do we call it? Cassian looked at the separate keys. A system needs one rule it can never abandon. Elin understood. An axiom. Cassian nodded. Axiom. She wrote the name at the top of the page. Then she asked, what is its first rule? Cassian thought of Severin Holt and the single key with which he had tried to control an entire city. No person, craft chamber, or access division may ever hold complete control. Elin wrote it down, Sarah added the next line. Dangerous knowledge will be preserved, Tavian continued, but it may only be used through joint authorization. Forian placed his key on the table, and every machine must have a path back to silence. So Axiom was founded, an independent organization created to locate dangerous knowledge, judge its use, and prevent any single authority from controlling it alone. The echo began to fade. The control room lost its edges. Cassian and the others became distant figures behind pale light. Years passed in a single moment. The 5 founders became names in restricted records. Their divisions grew into a network operating far beyond Malakor. Then the past closed. The Druid felt the cold surface beneath his fingers again. The transit bridge returned around him. Neon light moved across dark metal. A chamber train traveled through the depths. Music, voices, and the rhythm of heavy workshop presses filled the present. The Druid opened his eyes. Aeris had found 2 records within the fused material. The older one came from the founding of Axiom. No access division may hold complete control. Beneath it rested a later entry. All access divisions consolidated. Central authorization, Axiom Directorate. The Druid removed his hand from the Null line. Axiom had been created to divide dangerous power. At some point, the organization had gathered every division beneath a single command. It had become the very thing its founders had tried to prevent. A faint pulse moved through the Null line beneath the bridge. Once. Then again. No connection to the city, Aeris said. Activity remains inside the seal. The Druid looked into the illuminated depths of Malakor. The Null line was more than the memory of an old disaster. It was still holding the reconstruction engine below. And somewhere beneath the city, M0 continued searching for a way back. Echo preserved,